Giuliani's lawyer is also strenuously denying a report from the Washington Post that the FBI warned Giuliani and other Republican officials in 2019 that the Russians were feeding them falsehoods, specifically that a Russian influence operation was intent on sending out disinformation damaging to then presidential candidate Joe Biden. CNN has not confirmed the report. He never received any such briefing, Giuliani's attorney told CNN. Giuliani was a prominent figure on the 2020 campaign trail for Trump and repeatedly floated false information about the Biden's ties to Ukraine.
The amount of crimes that Democrats committed in Ukraine are astounding. And when you say investigate and call Hunter Biden, I mean, Joe Biden was the guy who did the bribe. And Joe Biden was the guy who took the bribe in order to protect Burisma.
Rudy Giuliani was also repeatedly asked if this criminal probe could be about more than just possible violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act. But he says he has not been told anything about the investigation by the feds. Meanwhile, federal officials are bracing for a long legal fight over what's contained in those electronic devices that were seized, with Giuliani's legal team likely arguing that much of it is subject to the attorney-client privilege. Boris and Christy.
Paul Callan, a former New York City homicide prosecutor and CNN legal analyst, with us now. Paul, good to see you. What stood out to you in that report that would be the headline for you?
Well, it's always a headline when an attorney's office is raided by federal authorities. It's a very rare event. But here, it's even more unusual because Giuliani is the former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. And that was how he became the mayor of New York, as a crime fighter for the Southern District. The Southern District apparently now has turned on Giuliani. And I think that's the headline, that Southern District investigates its own, Giuliani. So it's a shocking development.
Well, not only that, but there are questions, as we've reported, as according to CNN reporting, within the former President Trump's inner circle as to who could be next. Do you think this raid tells you or any of us that there's more to come?
It's very difficult to read these tea leaves accurately. The Southern District is very tight-lipped about what they're looking for. The only thing we know from the warrant is that they're investigating Giuliani on this Foreign Agents Registration Act violation. There are a number of other things, though. Of course, if you look at the Michael Cohen investigation, there were campaign finance indictments. And once they start looking into your business dealings, it won't just be political things they're looking at with respect to Giuliani. They'll be looking at his business dealings. They'll be looking at his tax returns. Once the feds put the dogs on you, they really have the ability to examine your life under a microscope. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if there are other crimes also being looked at. Whether they can prove anything is another matter.
You mentioned Michael Cohen, the former president's longtime fixer, as he was called. He, at one time, had said that he would take a bullet for President Trump. He flipped that, obviously, when the FBI raided his home back in 2018. But he is saying he believes Giuliani may do the same. I want to listen to what he told CNN earlier this week.
I think Rudy knows that he has trouble. I think Donald understands that Rudy will provide whatever information that he has to the SDNY, because Rudy has no interest in going to prison and spending the golden years of his life behind bars.
Look, nobody can get into Rudy Giuliani's mind, but based on what you know of the man and your time in New York, do you agree with that assessment?
No, I don't. I think that for a normal defendant potential defendant under investigation by the feds, yeah, they often do flip. It's the only way to stay out of prison. But I think Giuliani has such a massive ego. He was such an enormously powerful public figure here in New York as head of the Southern District U.S. Attorney, and then, of course, the crime-fighting mayor, and then he became even more famous after 9/11. Somehow I just have a hard time seeing Giuliani flipping and testifying against the president. And I also believe that Trump, and I think Michael Cohen is a good thing to look at. Here, Cohen was sort of the bagman for Trump for all of those years. Everybody thought when he was indicted that all of this material would come out against Trump. And what you found out was that Trump was always careful, even in dealing with his lawyers, to make sure that they wouldn't have something that could be used against him. And I would be very surprised if Giuliani knew more than Michael Cohen did about the president's private dealings. So in the end, I don't know that he's going to be a rich source of information, ultimately, against the president.
Paul Callan, I'm so grateful to have your thoughts on this. Thank you for being with us this morning. Good to see you.
Thank you.